To the latest on the campaign trail, Donald Trump set to meet with 900 evangelical and social conservatives today. This in an effort to continue gaining support from Christian voters. The latest Fox News polling showing that the presumptive Republican nominee has a commanding lead over Hillary Clinton with white evangelicals, 63% to Hillary's 21%. Joining us now, one of the spearheaders of the meeting and the president of the Family Research Council, Tony Perkins, is here. Good to have you.
Good morning.
All right, so courting the evangelicals, Donald Trump. How's this going to go?
Well, they're obviously a very important constituency for the Republican Party. They were important in the primary, turning out in higher numbers. They're going to be very important in the general election.
So this is going to be a closed-door meeting, 900 evangelical, social conservative leaders. It's happening in New York City. What's going to happen behind those closed doors?
It's going to be interesting. This is one of the largest gatherings of evangelical, social conservative leaders in decades. And I think what this shows, we had planned to maybe have like 400. Ben Carson helped set this up, taking this idea to Donald Trump, and he embraced it. We were thinking we have 400, and we had to turn people away. There is a desire to see this nation turn back to more of a conservative orientation, and there are a lot of evangelical leaders that are uncertain. They're undecided. I think they want to be for Donald Trump, but there's a gap, and this is a process, and this is the start with a conversation to hopefully close that gap.
Where is the gap, though? Because he was there. Ralph Reed said this when he was on this very program, that Donald Trump was there during the primaries, and he has been there even after he won the nomination, which he said some political leaders in the past treat evangelicals like they have leprosy after they've secured the nomination. We had Romney got 79% of the evangelical vote, and Bush did that in 2004. Is that achievable for Trump, and what do you need to hear from him?
So that's the number to point out, because while he's doing much better than Hillary Clinton, that's not the question whether or not people are going to vote for Hillary. It's, are they going to vote? Are they going to stay home? Are they going to actively support him? He's not at that threshold that Mitt Romney was at. In fact, I think if you actually look at the numbers, this election is going to fit more like 2008 than 2012, meaning the number's got to be even higher for him. Here's the challenge he has. He has no record. He has no track record in office. And even on some positions, he's kind of changed throughout the campaign. And that's not a bad thing, because as he's learned more, he's adapted.
Vice President Joe Biden sort of seizing on that. He slammed Trump's views on foreign policy as well as religion. I want you to listen to this.
If we make the religion the enemy, where the hell do you think we're going to get the cooperation?
Joe Biden, where the hell are we going to get on the religion? I mean, this guy is clueless. This administration has declared war on the Christian religion. And that's one of the reasons that all these evangelical leaders have come here, is because they're looking for someone who's going to not be their champion, but simply provide the protection for them to live out their lives.
It's really interesting to hear you say that, because early on in the campaign process, I do remember an evangelical leader who was supporting Trump said, look, at this point, we're not looking for someone just like us. We're looking for someone who doesn't hate us. So when you are in that closed-door meeting today, Tony, I would ask you, what is the major obstacle you need to get over, or these leaders want to get over with Donald Trump? You say there's not going to be speeches. You're just going to have an opportunity to ask the presumptive Republican nominee questions. What will you be asking him?
Well, I think there'll be a number of questions running the gamut. There'll be issues about who will he select as Supreme Court, and not so much names, but the process and who he'll seek advice from, because look what the court has done to the country in terms of the cultural and political landscape. That's going to be a key issue. Religious liberty is going to factor in significantly. Will he? Do
you believe Donald Trump is a religious man?
Well, Scripture makes very clear that you cannot know the heart of another man. You look at how they live their lives. This is what I see in Donald Trump. He's not hostile toward religion. He's certainly not hostile to the Christian faith. I think he is a man who has some very good qualities, and I think there's a lot that people like about him. And if people didn't like him and they didn't want to be supportive of him, they wouldn't be here.
You seem bothered by, is there any policy position that bothers you? Because there's I feel reticent.
Well, I've spent 20 years in the political process. I've held public office. I've been around politicians. And the best indicator of future performance is past performance. And what's lacking here is a political track record in public office. It's one thing you can do as an individual, but when you're actually in office and you have to stand alone and make decisions, that's different. And so that's why there's some hesitancy, and I think that's why a running mate is going to be important. Who does he choose as his running mate? I think it's got to be someone who has held public office, who has a conservative
Do you have anybody
track
in mind?
List of people that I think would be good.
Name a few.
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to throw too many. I don't want to throw names out there. I mean, I think it's got to be someone who the evangelical social conservative community is comfortable with, who has a track record on these issues and has stood their ground.
Will you be making any suggestions to him today?
There's been suggestions made, I think, throughout the process of people that would be good.
Make a prediction. They're either the evangelicals are either going to get comfortable with Trump, they're going to vote for Gary Johnson, or they're going to stay home. Which option do you think is going to predominate?
I don't know. I will tell you, I hope we can bridge the gap, and that's why we put so much time and effort into this meeting, so that they will be comfortable and active in supporting a candidate who will defend religious freedom and will turn this nation back on the right track.
All right, great stuff. Tony Perkins, that meeting happening today.